just get off and start checking my traps.
Geoff Garrod has been a keeper for 40 years. Back in 2007, he worked with his friend John Pyle to produce this video as part of the Keeper's Diary series of DVDs. In this series, he'll be looking back and reflecting on how the gamekeeper's job has changed over the years. The first of our trips down memory lane is springtime predator control.
When I first come into it, late 70s, early 80s, there was no control. There was no regulation. People done what they want. You know, I'm not saying that we were doing things wrong or illegal, but we were just getting on with our job. We were just doing it. We knew what we were doing. We knew the benefits, and we just got on with it. But come through the late 90s into the 2000 era to where we are now, we're under massive scrutiny to what we're doing. I'm happy with that because I have nothing to hide. The bottom line of it is I'm a keeper. My job is to produce game and to put on shooting days. And when a day goes to perfection, yeah, I get huge satisfactions out of that. But also, you know, when you go through the woods or even just sitting in a pigeon hide and you're seeing wildlife coming by you, that to me is the other half of the satisfaction that I get out of the job. Knowing that my hard work has created an environment that's given everything a chance to survive. We have a bird table outside the back door here. You know, to sit there some months having a cup of tea, just watching what visitors that bird table, ranging from woodpeckers to blue tits to nuthatch. I have that little feel inside of me that they're here because I've given a little bit of help to see them through their nesting time. Their nest hasn't been predated by a thieving magpie or worse to the carrion crow. So I get huge satisfaction out of the job, and it's not just because of the shooting part thing. It's knowing that if I wasn't here, people wouldn't be seeing what I see here. You know, you go to a keeper's shoot, you see vast amounts of wildlife, more than what you ever will do on an unkeepered piece of ground. I know what I'm doing benefits the countryside. Our biggest target this time of year are foxes, rats and wing vermin, magpies, crows, because they're the ones that will be doing the most damage. The reasons that we catch carrion crows and magpies, these two birds are the biggest predator of eggs in the countryside. Not only pheasant and partridge eggs, but any songbirds, any eggs that they come across, they'll take. So that's one of the main reasons that we control the magpies and crows, and this is the way that we do it. The larsen trap to me was a huge step forward in the keeper's armoury, if you like, for helping control the magpies and the carrion crows. One of the things that I can already see that's different is when larsen traps were invented and came out, they were all made of wood, so wood and wire, which was great, but you know, eventually the wood got damaged, it got rotten and it fell apart. Nowadays, we're having the same larsen traps, the same methods, but made out of wire mesh. So one, they last forever, and two, they're a lot stronger, you know, but they're still doing the same job. Because you have a captive bird in there, the bird has to have enough room that it can open its wings fully, and it has to have a perch, it has to have a shelter, so the perch is underneath the shelter. So obviously if it's wet, raining, it's got somewhere that it can go and get out of the rain. It has to have fresh food, it has to have fresh water, and it has to be inspected at least once every 24 hours. So most keepers that I know, they're off first thing in the morning, they're round checking their traps in the morning, they get it done. And then during the day, you know, if they're driving by and it's caught something else, they'll go and check it and sort it out from there.
Like many keepers, Geoff sometimes has trouble with walkers interfering with his traps.
We do get that. I mean, we get that because people, are just against what we do, don't understand what we do, and perhaps just a little bit ignorant of what we're doing. We don't want confrontation. We don't, if I catch people, I will try to explain to them why we're doing it, the reasons why we're doing it, and the benefits why we're doing it. And I do get quite a few people give me the, I didn't realise, I didn't understand, because they only hear one side of an argument. So giving people the chance to understand both sides of the argument, that's what I'm about. That's what if I see people, I'll explain. If I catch them, damaging equipment, well, that's a whole different ball game. There's criminal damage. We don't want to go down that road, but sometimes it's needed. But it's education.
Yeah.
Education of the public is needed.
We've constructed a tunnel by a hopper.
So what we're coming up to here now on the predator control is fen traps and tunnel trapping. When this video was made, it was perfectly legal to use fen traps in tunnels to catch a variety of ground vermin, rats, stoats, weasels, even squirrels. Today, and the law change, we cannot set a fen trap if there's any chance of catching stoats. The Perdex and the dock trap have come in to replace the fen trap. The principles of tunnel trapping are still the same. It's just that we've just had to use different equipment. The equipment has been upgraded and stronger, so now if you catch a stoat in a trap, it's dead. In the olden days, when I used to set a few fen traps in tunnels, nothing worse on a cold frosty morning than setting the trap off with your fingers left dangling in it. It hurt. The new ones, I would say if you got your fingers in the way there, you'd break them. That's how strong the traps are now. I could be covering best part of 10-15 miles in the morning on the quad bike, just checking things. It's just keeping an eye out for things, like a squirrel up a tree, a rat running across the ride, a magpie calling in a tree. There's all sorts of opportunities as to why I need a gun with me in the morning, especially in that predator control area. I've got a Browning Maxus 2. It's a multi-choke, and I use Ely cartridges. Basically, I'll go around with Ely Pigeon Select or an Ely HV 32 gram cartridge. Certain other times of the year, I'll swap the 6 30 gram cartridges to an Ely Alpha Max, which I've used for many, many years, and put in the right place at a distance will do the job. A painter has his brushes as tools of his trade, and he can't do his job without the brushes and paint. The gun is part of his tools of my trade. I can't do my job without a gun and firearm. So, when I'm checking my rounds in the morning, I will have a gun with me on the front of my quad bike. Ely cartridges go back to my childhood days when I used to sit in the bottom of a hide with my dad when we was pigeon shooting. I can still remember today an empty paper case cartridge, picking it up and giving it a whiff, and the smell just still stays with me to this day. Been very lucky that nurtured a partnership with Ely now, where I shoot their cartridges. The Browning Maxus Auto, I started using that probably 10 years ago. I've now moved on to the Maxus 2, and it's just one of the most reliable guns, autos, that I've had.
As I said at the start of the clip, fox control is one of the main things I do on here. Snaring.
With the snaring, we haven't got like 500 snares every single day across the whole place. We target certain areas where we think we've got activity. It's very easy now to see movements of foxes at night time with the thermal imaging gear that we've got. You still have to be out there, you still have to put the work in, but the advance is leaps and bounds to what it used to be. So we can travel around at night time, you know, and we can look through thermal gear, and if we sort of find a particular fox in an area that we perhaps can't get with the rifle, I know now that there's a fox in that area, so the next day I'll target that area with a few snares to try and help me. If I can't get it at night time, I'll try and get it, you know, with a snare, which is now basically holding devices with the new code compliant snares that we use. And I've always used shop brought snares. I've never made anything myself. And in the early days, when I first used a snare, bearing in mind I've been in this game for 40 plus years, so we're going back into the late 70s, when it was self-locking snares, where the snare would pull tight and it wouldn't release. They banned that to the free running snare, and now we've moved on now to what we call the holding device, which is a code compliant snare, where if a non-target species gets in there, I don't know, a deer or a badger, there's a clip on there that should take the pressure of a fox, but anything stronger it will just bust the clip. So a non-target species will just get out, which is another step up the ladder, if you like, on improving methods and equipment that we use this day and age. It's there to catch something, it's there to hold something, there's no point denying it, but it's doing it in the best possible way, you know. So, you know, when I get there in the morning, first thing in the morning, I can see there's a fox in there, just get off, you know, dispatch it, take it out of the holding device, then we'll move it and reset it. You don't have to do things illegal, you know, to do the job. You know, we have to modernise. I have no problem modernising. I want to leave the keepering fraternity in a state that my son's coming along board. He can continue to have the joys and enjoy keepering like I have. You know, but I have no problem with modernising. You know, we all have to modernise. As every profession across the board, you know, people are looking at it. Construction's another one, farming's another one. People are looking at it to improve it, to modernise it, to make it safer, to make it more legal. You know, I have no problem with doing it with keepering. I want keepering to continue, and to continue keepering by modifying, by having people look at it and improving things, then I'm happy with that.
And hopefully it's given you, the viewers, a chance to see how keepers of modern days carry out their predator control.
You can find the Keeper's Diary DVDs at geoffgarrod.co.uk. For more about Browning, Ely and Jack Pike, see the links in the description below.